Buongiorno! I am Chef Jennifer Basil and I'm here at my favorite Italian market in Dallas to pick up some Italian products to cook with on my series. One thing that I love about Italy Market is that above every product, it does tell you a little bit about the history of the family that produces the product, where it's from, how they manufacture it. So if you're not familiar with products from Italy, you can find this out. The other cool thing too is they have storytellers. So if you want a tour of the store or someone to guide you through, they've got wonderful people here to help you. They've got everything that you need. Wonderful fresh meat at the butcher counter. We've got everything to make our porchetta, which you'll see this season. If you watch some of my previous seasons, this is where I got my bistecca, my steak, the T-bone that was 3 inches. Everything's fresh. They make their sausage in-house. So this is one of the favorite places to get really high quality meat at the butcher counter here, and they're very helpful. They'll even trim your meat for you if you need it. So as you know, I love to cook with wine and drink wine. And of course, if we're making Italian food, we should drink Italian wine. So we've got a great selection here at Italy, and they do it by region and also by type. So I can get any kind of Italian wine possible. Of course, some of my favorites are the reds. We get into the Sangiovese. My favorite's the Brunello. So one of the things that I love about shopping here is you can get a glass of wine and you can have a glass of wine and sip and shop. So one thing I love about Italy, if you don't feel like making your own fresh pasta at home, they have a fresh pasta counter. So a lot of times to save time, I come here and get fresh pasta to use in our recipes. We're gonna buy some lasagna sheets, the flat sheets, and we're gonna make some recipes in this season using their fresh pasta. Hello, we have come back from the Italy market and we are ready to make some homemade ravioli. To start today, we are going to make our filling first. I have some fresh pasta dough that's resting, and we'll use that to make our pasta sheets for the ravioli. But if you want that recipe, I have it on my website, so I'm not actually gonna make the pasta today on camera, but we do have it already listed on my website and how to make it. So for our filling, let's start with spinach, fresh ricotta, and this came from Italy, so it's not the, stuff you get in a regular grocery store. This is from Italy, and it's just got beautiful, you can see it's a little bit drier. It's not quite so cottage cheesy as like supermarket ricotta. So we need about a cup of that. We are gonna add shallots. We're gonna add pecorino, garlic, and some parsley. And then we need to give that a quick mix. And we will make our pasta sheets, and then I will show you how to stamp out some really pretty ravioli. All right, our pasta dough rested. I've made some pasta sheets, but before we fill them, an interesting tidbit about ravioli. This dish actually dates back to the 14th century. And back then, it was generally made of ricotta and herbs. So kind of what we've made today with the spinach and the ricotta and some garlic and shallots. And this dish was actually served on Fridays during Lent. So because it was, meatless. So this was a very popular dish since the 14th century for Italians, and it is an authentic Italian dish. Generally served either with a cheese sauce or a marinara. Now my recommendation, if it's a cheese-filled ricotta, is to serve it with a marinara. If it's a meat-filled ricotta, you certainly could do the tomato sauce or the cheese sauce, but I wouldn't do cheese on cheese, unless you really like cheese. Okay, so we've got our pasta dough ready. And we're just gonna take little dollops. Now, I've got a ravioli stamp. You can get these in different shapes, different sizes, so bigger rounds. They make some that are rectangular. We're gonna use a small round today. So, something to note, when you put your filling in, you don't wanna put so much that you can't get a seal around the ravioli. So make sure that your center gives you some room to be able to seal that. And I'm gonna put it a little off center, and then I'm gonna take some water just to help my pasta seal. Okay, so a little bit of water, and I'm gonna go all the way around the edges of my filling. And then we'll fold over the top and kind of press around each little dollop. And then using our stamp, and this also will help seal the edges as well, you can press out your ravioli. If your ravioli is getting sticky, the pasta on the stamp, just dip your stamp in a little bit of flour and it'll come out of the stamp easier. See? I've made some marinara. I've got a simple marinara recipe that is just moody tomato paste and sauce, and I put some onion, I put some garlic, I put some basil, oregano, and onion, and we've just let that's been simmering, so that's ready to go as soon as our pasta comes out. We'll toss it in the sauce, and we'll have our ravioli. Okay, our ravioli are floating, which tells us they're done. Now, if we want to do this right, let's take a little bit of that marinara, put it in our pan, and then let's take our pasta out and actually put it in the sauce. You certainly could put your ravioli in your bowl and then put the sauce over it. That would probably be pretty for a picture, but to really let the sauce and the pasta marry and really get that coated, you always put your pasta in the sauce. And I'm gonna add a little bit of that pasta water, because what that does is, you would think it'd water down your sauce, right? There's starch in that water, so that actually helps thicken it. So we'll toss that ravioli. Let me get a bowl and we can have some lunch. Got our beautiful ravioli, our lovely fresh tomato marinara. I'm forgetting to say this with my Italian accent. Ravioli in a marinara. I'm practicing, guys, I promise. I need to go take Italian lessons. We'll put the rest of that sauce on there. Let's garnish it with a little parsley. You could put cheese on this if you want, but I think the ricotta, we really want that flavor to come out. And I don't know about you, but it's lunchtime for me, so I'm gonna have a bite. That beautiful filling, get some sauce on there. The pasta is perfectly al dente. Beautiful, bright, acidic sauce. Of course, I've got my wine to swish it down. I'm drinking a Chianti from Italy. Perfect with this dish. If you like this recipe, go to my website, but we have one more coming up. We're gonna make rum baba. All right, for our next recipe, we are going to make rum a la baba. And actually, this dessert is not just made in Italy, it's made in France, it's a European dessert. It is a rum-soaked pastry, and my little Sue pastry chef is telling me what to do here. If you can't hear her, that's Phantom, my cat. We are going to start by adding our flour, sugar, and we're using instant yeast. So if you don't have instant yeast, you can use active dry yeast, but what you need to do is actually soak that in some warm water so the yeast bacteria kind of come to life. But this is specially made so that you don't need to do that. So this is instant yeast. And we want to just mix this till that all comes together. And then we're going to add eggs. We're gonna add these one at a time. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. And we're using a dough hook attachment on this mixer instead of a paddle attachment because it's really kind of like a yeasty bread dough. So you have to have a little bit of patience, but if you have a stand mixer, this is going to do all the work for you. So we are going to let this get incorporated, and this actually needs to beat for about 10 minutes. When we come back, we're gonna add some butter. So we've let this mix until it became batter-like. Now we want to add our butter. And we're gonna turn up the speed to medium, and we're gonna let this go another 7 to 10 minutes. And when we come back, I'll show you the consistency of the dough that we're looking for. So if at the end of 7 or 10 minutes it's not what I'm gonna show you, you need to let it go longer. Okay, so I have let this continue to beat until the dough pulled away from the sides of the bowl and became stretchy. Now, let's take our dough hook out, our bowl out, and we're ready to put it in our mold. I'm using mini muffin tins. You can use regular muffin tins depending on how big you are. And then there are baba molds that you can use, or silicone, which will give you that authentic shape. But I got mini muffin tins, so we're just gonna make bite-sized ones today. So the cool way, because this dough is so elastic, to get this into your muffin tins is to grab it and kind of squeeze it up like this and pinch it and put it in there. So take your dough, squeeze it, and pinch. And we'll fill up our muffin cups and we'll get them in the oven. So our baba went into the oven at 325 for about 20 to 25 minutes and came out nice and poofy like this. Now for the rum part. So I took some rum, some apricot preserves, and some sugar, and a little bit of water, and we put that on the stovetop and kind of let it simmer until that sugar all got dissolved and created our dipping sauce. You want to poke holes. So I would suggest if you're doing little ones like this, use a toothpick. But you could certainly use a skewer or a fork, even the tip of a knife. But you really want to poke a lot of holes in this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your baba and dip it in your rum sauce and like just keep spooning the rum over it and just let it soak all that liquor up. The longer you soak and continue to kind of spoon that glaze over it, the more boozier your baba will be. So I've got some already soaked. Woo! Good happy hour little dessert there. And traditionally in Italy, this is served with whipped cream. So just cream, powdered sugar, and some vanilla. Whip it till it creates, I'm gonna be fancy and make a quenelle. And just put your dollop of whipped cream on the side. And we have a rum alla baba. So for today, we made our scratch-made ravioli filled with ricotta, and we made our rum alla baba. So we have two, well actually today we made a mini, didn't we? We made the ravioli mini and our dessert mini. For those recipes, go to my website, jenniferbasil.com. Make sure to follow me on my social media. Ciao.